So today I've walked about 20 kilometers, approximately, I don't know, 12, 15 miles. That is the usual distance. I think it was called a yaka or something. I can't remember the Pali term, but the distance as prescribed by the Buddha when walking on Tudong or Charaka from place to place. The usual distance covered by foot in one day, and between places where one can stay within about a mile of a little conurbation, a village, a town or something like that, where you can go on Pindapat the next morning. So this morning after Pindapat I returned. Sorry, I should have organised this first, but I'm trying to make it so that it's not in the wind. So after Pindapat, after I finished my meal, I thought I'd go and find the Secret Island Temple, which is that way, right at the very far end of this stretch of coastline. It turns into a peninsula, very thin piece of land, to a little, well, it's not really an island. I suppose if the high tide was very high, it would become such, but a little outcrop of rock that sticks up with a little bit of jungle over it, much like the monastery I was staying at in Thailand. Really, it reminded me very much of that in its appearance and feel. But no big monastery there. There's just a sort of stupa, a Buddha house as they call it here, which is like a little Buddha temple, structured slightly differently to those in Thailand and in other places, but very beautiful. I didn't film anything there because I'm not I will try and do that once I've spoken to them and asked their permission. There was only one young monk there. But I went to see and investigate. I was interested to see this temple, as it wasn't one on my tour of other temples that the tuk-tuk man, Kapia Gamini, took me to the other day. I did ask him, but I think he missed my request. So I thought, that's okay, I'll walk there. Anyway, there and back all together, I mean, I've walked 20 kilometers, so it's not that far away. It's probably a few miles, that's all. I'm including in that 20 kilometers my Pindapat, of course. So that's my total walking distance today. Not walking meditation, actually walking, enjoying walking, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, all of the different experiences of life, but with mindfulness, sati, and attention to one's emotions, activities of the mind, and what's going on. And when you're in a new environment, different conditions, different experiences, there's, you know, a lot of mental activity always to be observed, and takes our interest. It was also very hot, so I think to some extent I might have exposed myself a little bit too much to the sun, have a little bit of a headache, and now I thought I'd plonk myself down on this part of the beach just before sunset, although it's quite cloudy. How long this is going to last, I don't know. I think some people might start walking by. Someone's heading in this direction looking quite official. So maybe this is a place, this isn't the place I normally sit. Maybe it's a place I shouldn't. I will look at you rather than him. He's probably just interested. So I thought I'd go through some of the questions and answers, questions and comments, and talk about those as I have this opportunity. And the first one, illumination light. Do you guys experience it too? Just checking. Well, you will experience it too. Just now, probably the sun setting just over there behind me. Hopefully this will be illuminating light. Ayabon? Hello? Sukihotu, Sukihotu. How are you?
Fine.
Good. Nice. Yes, very nice. Thank you.
From Japan?
England, the UK. You work here? Live here?
Yeah.
Ah, very nice. Nice to meet you. Yes, so illuminations. I think what you're referring to is often what is referred to as nimitta. Nimitta is the Pali word which really translates and means signs. And these are internal lights that one sees, not through external illuminations. But now we have a train going by. I'm facing the opposite way, so I can see more this way going on. I can see the train going by. Distractions. Let me keep my mind on this. And now I've seen these pineapple fruits. I see why they're called pineapples now, even though they're not pineapples, because they look very much like pineapples hanging from pineapple trees. This is why these are called, this is why it's called a pineapple grove, I suppose. Anyway, we're seeing all of the time. This is just seeing light with our eyes. But when we sit, when we close our eyes and we meditate, all kinds of phenomena occur. One of those is often referred to as nimittas and associated with jhanas and deep stages of samadhi, and can be exciting. You're asking, do you guys experience this? Meaning, I think generally you're referring to monks or nuns, people in this tradition practicing meditation. Some do, some don't. We're all different. They are phenomena. They're not to get too caught up in. They are to be seen as just that, even though they're not coming from external sources of light and they're from internally generated. It does happen. Not like dreams, not like seeing in dreams. They are really, actually, it is seeing light, bright colours or white in orb-like appearance or patination. Different forms people report as seeing, experiencing. One must try not to get too caught up in that and maintain observation on the meditation object throughout the experience of that phenomena. If you get, you can enjoy it. It often is associated and comes along with the feeling of physical rapture and happiness, this experience of piti and sukha, joy and rapture. If you are experiencing this, there's nothing wrong with enjoying that, as I've enjoyed my walk today, and we can enjoy a sunset or enjoy beautiful things. Certainly nothing wrong with that. But if you get caught up in that, you will soon see that this too, like all conditioned things, is impermanent, anicca. It will come to an end. And if you take your attention from your meditation object and go into the nimitta, into these signs, into these lights, it may last for some time, but it may just disappear, especially when you bring your attention awareness to it. When you try and focus on it, it often makes it go away. So keeping your attention back on your breath, on your meditation object, is the better way to actually maintain its longevity, and also this experience of piti and sukha along with it, but also not to get caught up in it and then to have to start all over again when it eventually disappears, and then you need to start again with the breath, your meditation. But we all have different experiences of that and treat it in different ways. The simple answer to your question is, do we guys? Yes, some do, some don't. We're all different. We have different experiences. I'm hoping the wind coming from behind me, although I can hear it very loudly in my ears, I am shielding you from it like this. No. This question, nice, where are you from? I've just answered this gentleman, I'm from England, the UK. Oh, that's in a language, sorry, I cannot translate. This is a comment rather than a question. In a non-Buddhist country, if you wander, you starve, or brackets, or get mugged. Smiley face, lovely chat, thank you. Well, that's not my experience. I've lived 3 years in a non-Buddhist country, India, and I've lived in England all of my life. And even before I was a Buddhist monk, I lived as a, not actually begging so much, but I lived independently, put it that way, homelessly, as an experiment, as a, out of choice. I wasn't forcibly homeless, but for a long time. Never have I had any experience of, what was your thing? No, I've never starved. I mean, I found generosity all over the world, not just in Buddhist countries. But I mean, it's suffice to say, in a Buddhist country here, there is an abundance of generosity, and you have to find suitable places to donate the additional food that you have, because we only seek to get enough food for this one meal in the day, and not to store food overnight or keep it for future use. So it all has to be used up, and it's usually cooked and ready to eat, because we cannot cook either as monks. So I have got places now where I can donate the food once I've got enough in my bowl and I've had my meal, for other people to have in time for lunchtime. But no, I mean, I haven't had that experience. But of course, yes, I'm sure it happens. But fortunately, I don't think that. I think that's a bit of a generalization. How there can be karma, as the nature doesn't have the understanding of sin and virtue, good and bad work, morality and unmorality. I guess to unconscious nature, all is same. Action equals results. It's karma, finished. It's only matters for conscious nature like us. So how karma can be true? So I think you got the gist of that. If not, what you're saying is karma in relation to nature. Okay, well, put it this way. If a flower, a seedling, stays in the ground, it won't flower. It won't come to fruition. It won't grow. It needs to come out of the ground to experience sunlight, and the water is the cause and conditions for that to happen in nature. So karma just means action, and vipaka is the results of those actions. We refer to, as you are in the conscious minded world, but all beings this does account for, even the less conscious of sentient beings. We are accountable for all our actions of body, speech and mind, in that they all will have a reaction. Therefore, if we do bad things happen. We do good things happen. But not in a particular time span. It could be much later, or it could be immediately. We are not to try and understand the precise effects, laws of karma, because it's unfathomable. It's something like, you asked me yesterday why the universe exists. We cannot determine. This is two of the questions that the Buddha, of 4 achintya questions, he said don't bother trying to answer. The first being the origins and meaning and reason behind the cosmos. The second being trying to fathom out exactly the results of karma, the exact workings of karma. Of course, to understand, yes, do good, you get good, do bad, you get bad, you reap what you sow. We are the results, causes of the causes and conditions we put in place. We are responsible for our karma, the heirs to our karma. This is to be understood It's the basic principle of karma. So it does apply to all conditioned things, including not inanimate objects that don't perform any action, but anything like a plant, for instance, which does in fact have to grow in order to come to fruition. I think that's what you're getting at in your question. You're trying to say, how can it be true? There's nothing to believe there. It is nature. It's just a different word. It's the Pali word for nature. It's nothing magical or mystical. Translate it as action. A tree needs to grow to bear fruit. These pineapple fruits that are hanging precariously above the phone there, are growing as a result of that tree having grown there in this position. But if they to stay there too long, the wind will blow them off and they'll fall down, land on the phone, knock it sideways or forwards or in some direction, and this would be the results of staying there too long. But also the results of that, they break open, their seeds go into the ground, they begin new growth, new trees, new plants, and so on. This is nature. It's also involuntary actions. It's a kind of different view of karma, if you like, because it's not really what we're referring to in Buddhist practice when we use the word karma. But it isn't too different, because we are natural organisms too, that are the results of karmic action, either literally of our parents or on a more subliminal level, let's say, the results of our actions and causes and conditions we put in place to make this rebirth into this lifetime, into aging, sickness and death again, into this repetitive cycle of samsara. I should be able to tell the time by the sun behind me, shouldn't I? But I'm just checking the clock here as well, as some rain is coming along. I wasn't quite sure I understood your question fully, but I hope that does sort of answer it. If it doesn't, please ask again. And thank you so much, this particular questioner, who's certainly got the idea of putting a new comment in and not adding to those strings which I don't get to see, because that's why I can get to your questions immediately that they come, because there's a section on here that just gives me all of the comments in a list form, but if you put them on those strings, I have to go all over the place looking for them, which I don't do. Thank you for that. Hello, Venerable Sir. Question of asking, can doing Anapanasati meditation be used as a samatha meditation? Okay, samatha is a Sanskrit word, I think, that is similar to samadhi. Samadhi being single-pointed, focused absorption, meditation on one meditation object, to become absorbed, to develop tranquility, peace, calmness of mind whilst sitting. And also we hear Vipassana described as a meditation technique, but it really just means, and I think I've spoken of this so many times, it really just means seeing clearly. It's not wrongly described as that, Vipassana, these Vipassana courses, Goenka Vipassana courses, for instance. It's not the wrong terminology, Vipassana, because they are teaching you mindfulness to see clearly, thoughts arising, staying, passing away. Feelings arising, staying, passing away. Emotions arising, staying, passing away. Seeing, noticing, being aware, consciously aware. This is mindfulness. But it isn't called Vipassana. Vipassana is a quality we develop from that action, from doing that, from observing feelings rising, staying, passing away. Develops the ability to see clearly the nature of those feelings that arise, stay and pass away, that nature being impermanent, anicca. This is seeing clearly. This is what they call insight meditation. So the two go hand in hand. That is Vipassana and Samadhi. They are the same thing, not hand in hand, they are the same hand, two sides of the same hand. We develop Samadhi, sitting, focusing our mind on one meditation object to sharpen our powers of focus. Not forced concentration, but ability to bring our attention, our conscious awareness back to one single point of focus, a meditation object. That strengthens our powers of observation on all phenomena that arise through seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and how we think, our emotions as they arise, stay and pass away. That is vipassana, seeing clearly. We develop that quality through the practice of samadhi. But by also using this vipassana, this quality of seeing clearly, all that technique of meditation, it is not a technique, but the technique of awareness of all phenomena changing throughout our daily activities, because whilst we're sitting in, as you would call it, samatha meditation or samadhi meditation, you are more trying to bring your awareness back to the meditation object and not focus on the comings and goings of all physical feelings and sensory perceptions. But we use that mindfulness sati throughout our daily activities to develop the vipassana, to see more clearly those as just that when we're meditating on the sitting formally situation of meditating, in order to be able to develop that focus more easily. So both help each other. So the short answer to your question is, well, no, because you're saying during anapanasati meditation, can doing anapanasati meditation be used as samatha meditation? Sorry, I thought you said vipassana. I read it wrong. So backtrack completely. Can doing anapanasati meditation be used as samatha meditation? Yes. So I mean, it doesn't matter, because what I've just said is also applicable. But when we're observing the breath, breathing in, breathing out, and observing that as our meditation object, we are developing samadhi. This is samadhi meditation. But it is also, throughout our daily activities, vipassana. It is seeing clearly the breathing in, the breathing out, the comings and goings and the impermanent nature of that also as a phenomena, and something we use as a meditation object. But certainly, yes, I mean, the way to develop samadhi is anapanasati, mindfulness of the breath. Oh, how about post to Sri Lanka? Is it normal expenses or very expensive? I don't know, and I don't actually have an address particularly. I have a kind of address, I think's my address, which I've put on various forms, but I'm not so sure a postman would find it. Although on my walk today I did see the post office, and what normally one does in when you're staying in a different country for any length of time, you let them know at the post office and your post goes there. But as I don't know how long I'll be here or where I'm staying particularly, it's early days, but if anybody did want to send anything, I would let them know. There's not really much need to send anything, though. It is expensive to send things this distance. There are often taxes involved as well, not just at your end, at this end too, which I wouldn't be able to deal with. So if something was to be sent, as has been done to me in India, I've then been asked to pay huge amounts of tax on whatever it was that was sent. Fortunately, someone was around to do that. And it was something I required, so it was necessary. But one has to be a little bit careful. You can email, write, and this, that, and the other in terms of communication, but for things to be sent, it's not really necessary. I always use the things that are available in the country I'm living in. I know that you're very keen to arrange for me to have protein special shakes for nutrition. And I must reassure you, just to go to a more later question, I've been living like this on this diet for 8 years, and in this unusual way of living for a lot longer than that. And I'm very, for now, happy to say that I'm fit and I'm healthy. I may look a little underweight sometimes, but I'm not overweight, which can be a little bit more of a problem. I'm certainly not underweight, I'm about normal. I get enough nutritional value from the foods that I receive, and bits that I don't receive, like through my own fault, because I'm a bit choosy being a vegetarian and a vegan, although not officially and strictly vegan. Because of that, I find some other supplements through natural sources that are available that I found here. For instance, in this country, Marmite is available. And with the contributions I get from you, I can ask Kapia to buy Marmite as well as coffee. Coffee is of no need other than for pure pleasure and to keep me awake, but Marmite's quite essential because it provides all the iron and vitamin B12 and other vitamins that I don't get through my strange diet. But in India I was able to get very cheaply and inexpensively vitamin B12 tablets, pills, but they are often made out of animal products or derivatives, so you have to research these things. But as far as all of these wonderful shakes and things you want to send me, and someone said, well, you suggested I should find them here, and someone made a comment, a laughing kind of comment, yes, you can just imagine Bhante in a shop asking for such a thing. Unless it's on the shelf and I can point to it, it doesn't get bought. It's really quite like that. Trying to explain complicated things like protein shakes from the Western world in a place like this, it would be fruitless. I know they don't have the things you're describing. They might do in these gyms and places like that, but they would be quite expensive, and I wouldn't go to places like that. But I do see these gyms, they're kind of franchise gyms in the towns near places like this. And I think they sell protein shakes, but they would probably contain all sorts of things that I don't need in my diet. No, I live a very healthy life. I've walked 20 kilometers today and I've eaten nothing since my meal this morning, and I'm fine. I don't feel faint, I don't feel weak. I walked at a steady pace, albeit in the hot sunshine, so I might have a little bit of a headache. But you don't need to worry too much, but I do appreciate your concern. And I'm going to answer another question that came in today as I'm talking about food, because it's quite important to cover these questions and criticism too. Bhante, please talk about food less and Dharma more. May there be every good blessings. Thank you for that. But yeah, I do talk. I have spoken more about food recently because I'm arriving in a new country. I have arrived in a new country. We're human beings. We have to eat. I'm a monk. We only eat once a day. For that reason, the topic of food comes up. I don't go to restaurants like a travel vlog, filming plates of food. If I was to do that, this channel would have millions and millions of viewers. Even if I was to film what I do eat, which isn't in restaurants, this channel would have millions and millions of subscribers and viewers, because it's very popular, this subject of food, not just on YouTube, within all humanity. I speak to my mother every week on a Sunday, something like that, after she's listened to the Archers, or every couple of weeks or few weeks. And she tells me what she's cooking for her lunch and what she's had for her dinner last night and what she had when she went out to the restaurant last week with my sister for a meal. And I'm not really that interested in food that they're eating, because it's of course not the sort of food I eat anyway or have available even to me here, or the enjoyment aspect of eating, because I eat for a very functional reason, to live. But I appreciate and I listen to her enjoyment of the food, and that she's enjoying herself having that delicious food. And I do and have a tendency when I first arrive in a place to discuss food, because the comments I'm getting are largely also about, well, what do you like just then? What are you eating, Bhante? How are you surviving? All of that walking around and you don't get the right food and it's once a day. The topic of food, as I stay in this country a little bit longer, dear subscriber, Upasaka, I'll be fed up of talking about it, because I will be eating the same I'm already eating the same each and every day, and there's nothing more to talk about than that. So there will be less food and there will be more Dharma, I promise you that. Apologies if I have spoken too much about food, but if I don't eat, I die. If you don't eat, you die. But more importantly, most people are very interested in my diet, and also the different foods and what a monk has to do to get food when they're in a different country, and then what we have to survive on. So I have to just take the broader spectrum and talk about, I don't really think about it much, I just talk about what's coming up, because if people aren't interested, they don't have to watch. And food has come up a little bit, maybe more than it should have. I do agree with you, but it is also, people are interested in it, and it is also something that is quite important, because it is something we need to live. I appreciate, though, these kind of constructive criticisms, so don't ever hesitate to send them in. You'll never get a bad reaction, and I hope that was positive, because it's encouraging me to, yes, talk of more Dharma, which I will. But it is all Dharma. It is life. It is the truth. We have to eat. It has to come out the other end. This is how we survive. And from the same subscriber, this is in relation to the umbrella, the kind offering of an umbrella from this kind gentleman on the streets yesterday in the rain. Buddha was immune to the deluge. Sivanaya, you are the umbrella, Bhante. I know that. I wouldn't have gone without an umbrella on Pindapat in the pouring rain, and it was pouring rain, if I didn't know that I'm waterproof. But we live in a caring society. People will see you getting wet, whether you're a monk or not, and they will offer you shelter, a raincoat, some form of shelter, or an umbrella, or a lift in their car. This is human nature. Now, it's quite warm here. You're not going to get a chill if you get wet, and it's not going to be a problem. And I know that. I feel I'm like a duck or a fish. What's the problem with the rain or getting wet? Because after all, we are waterproof. The water doesn't come out of us, and it doesn't really go into us. There is some osmotic effect, some transference, of course, but we're not going to drown in the rain. So not just the Buddha, all human beings in reasonable temperatures like this are immune to the deluge. I am fully aware of that, and you're quite correct. But in the Vinaya also, it is important that we hold with veneration and sanctity these robes with respect, out of respect to the Sangha. And people seeing a monk in the deluge of rain, whose robes become very heavy and start to slide off their shoulders, would run to protect that monk and offer them shelter and umbrella, because it's important that the robes are held with that respect. So that's the primary reason, not that I'm shy of the rain. I've stayed outside in the rain all night for many months. I mentioned I lived on the beach yesterday for 6 months in England. That was just in the lockdown of COVID, between trips between Thailand and India. I actually lived on the beach in England for 3 years. Okay, in a van, I had shelter, but it wasn't a camper van. But most of the time I was out and exposed to the elements. In India I lived for 3 years, most of that time outside, without a van, without shelter, and often in the rain. No problems at all. If it's warm, you can do that, but it is sometimes a little impractical, and you do rot. Your skin tends to rot. Now I've gone on about that a little bit too much, so we'll get on to the next question. Very good, understandable explanation. If someone put meat, sorry, I'm not sure what you're referring to there, but anyway, thank you. If someone put meat in your begging bowl, would you, oh, it's food again, would you be obliged to eat it? Thanks. we're not obliged to eat anything that's put in there, but we, if we were hungry, starving, we probably would eat it. No, we are obliged to accept it. If someone puts meat in our bowl, we can't say, in this tradition, they all vary, but I would never deprive someone with the opportunity of giving. Maybe that's just a personal thing, but whatever someone wants to put in my bowl, I will accept. I must say, and this is perhaps wrong, I have a tendency to notice when someone puts something in my bowl with great thought and feeling. No, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little emotional, but when, for instance, someone put something in my bowl yesterday and previous days and today with such thought and feeling, and it wasn't just something they bought or something that they had, I could tell it was something they had. It was either maybe their own lunch or something, but I just had a sense that it was with such great thought and feeling, and frankly I didn't care what it was. I was determined that I would eat that, whatever it was in that wrapping, in that pot, in that dish, in my bowl, because they tend to put things already wrapped up in your bowl here rather than the loose rice, so you can notice what certain things. I made the determination I would eat that, and I have done, and I will do, because and there's nothing wrong with it. It's very nice, but it wouldn't be perhaps something that your eye would be drawn to as being your first choice, other than I notice the feeling and the devotion at which that person is putting that food in the bowl. So if I opened the package and it was a chicken leg or a piece of fish, because I'd already made that determination, I would eat it. So maybe that tells you something, maybe it doesn't. I am a vegetarian, I am a vegan, but when someone gives you something with that amount of sacrifice and devotion to keep me alive for another day, and that amount of feeling, and I'm talking about people who really are giving you perhaps what they might only have to eat today, then I will eat that, and I will enjoy it, and I will make the very best use of it as I possibly can. And you might wonder why that is such a deeply emotional thing for a monk. After all, we shouldn't have such feelings. But it really is, Pindapat, this alms round that we do every day, it really is the root of this Dharma. So although this request to speak of more Dharma and less food, when there are people who are not well-off people, whom would give you the last piece of food they have for you to continue your practice, then I think that warrants the utmost veneration and respect, and that is, I think, the very best karma that they can possibly create, the very best causes and conditions they're putting in place for themselves for a very happy and future and in this life and rebirth. That is true sacrifice. And I too have the benefit here and the enjoyment and the pleasure to be able to also give. Now I'm unable to give. It's an emotional topic for me. It's something we don't talk about as monks so much, often because we don't have the opportunity to go on Pindapat every day. But something I spoke of as well recently, what to do with the people that I come across whom may need some food on my on my Pindapat. Well, today someone I came across, or maybe it was, yes, I think it's today, and it was a lady and she was begging for food. Well, it could have been money or food. It doesn't matter. She was begging. A blind lady. And I can't actually I can't give her something in her hands. It's part of our rules in Vinaya. But I've got all these offerings, this food, and I'm thinking, what to do now? I'm on a bridge, and I can't do much about it. So I had to go past, and it's raining, and I had my umbrella, and it was very difficult for me to do much other than we keep our eyes and gaze down anyway on Pindapat. But she caught my eye because she's in front of me on a path on a bridge, and I have to walk carefully in order not to get in the path of a lady coming another way, or anyone for that object, or brush into them. So keeping all of my Vinaya in place, I got to the end of the bridge, and there were fortunately some people there, a couple, a man and a lady, walking, young couple. So I gave to the man all I could give that was easily packaged and accessible, so a drink and some biscuits and some fruit and some things that was kind of bagged up. And they didn't seem to understand what I meant, so I gave this to him, and he looked a little confused, the monk giving it to him, and I pointed him to the lady so that he could then passed it then to his lady friend to give to the lady. So it covered that problem. Now, I had such immense gratification of being able to give, because as a monk we have nothing to give, nothing to offer. We don't have resources other than the Dharma. But that giving of food to that lady, and you could see she smiled and appreciated it, and hopefully, even though she was blind, knew that I was a monk and why I didn't give it to her straight away. And that is the reason I talk about food a lot, because it is very much part of Dharma and this life as an alms mendicant, a Buddhist monk. I think that should do for today. The sun is setting behind me. No beautiful sunsets here on this beach today because of the clouds, as you can see. But I think the rain is also about to begin. Thank you for your comments and questions. I hope there's something useful in there that you can use. If not, please just let it go. And hope you can understand. If I get a little emotional, I'm by no means sad. It's tears of joy. It's piti and sukha are what we experience in the first stages of samadhi, of immense joy and bliss. Things we can't talk about as monks in terms of our experiences we have as meditation, but we can listen to yours and answer your comments and questions. But just this experience of piti and sukha, joy, and tears of joy, this emotion, very powerful emotion that we experience in real life, in day-to-day activities, I think it's fair I can share with you. And I'm grateful to have that opportunity to share that with you, and assure you that it's just coming from a place of immense happiness that I am currently living amongst such kind and generous people. True Dharma brothers and sisters. Brothers and sisters in aging, sickness and death, yes, but also true brothers and sisters in the Dharma, in helping each other in the Dharma, in this practice, real Kalyana Mita, noble friendships, but beautiful friendships. And this is such a wonderful society to be staying in, be welcomed amongst for this time that I'm here, which I hope will continue for a very long time to come. And I hope you can experience some of that joy along with me whilst I'm here. Thank you for watching.